right, sound check. Looks like I'm coming through on the monitors. Let's get my face up there. And what's going on, everybody? Hope you had a good week. I'm back from vacation in Georgia, and I have allergies, so excuse me. Sorry, I'm going to be doing that a lot. But the trees, they decide that now is the time for love, and they make all of us have to swim in their love.
It's getting real weird for the start of the stream.
What's up, Ant? How you doing? Let me turn you up a little bit here. Say something for me. Let me get you check on your sound.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's your week?
Pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's good. Trading at the
Good.
gym, paying off your membership,
That's my
right?
favorite place to trade, honestly.
Yeah. So, let's see. Let me get my head clear here. You got anything you want to talk about? I know you usually have to go pretty quick, huh?
I'll be hanging around today, but it was a very interesting close for the end of
Yes.
the week, first day of the month. I mean, I
Indeed,
think
it
we're
was.
still, yeah.
What do you think the Bears are saying right now? Are they accepting the rally?
I don't. I think the buyers are still in control right now, but I think that they need to go sideways for a little bit. That could get us down a little lower than today's low, but I think they're in good shape from a rally perspective. I mean, it does mean a lot to me that they closed the week above last week's close. Like they did it by a point. There's no coincidences in the market. Last week's close was 45.36, and today's was 45.36.75 or 37. Excuse me. That's uh that's very interesting to me.
Yep. I was looking at this today. I mean, on the Nasdaq was really what I was really keying off of. The correction from December 28th down to the low of March the 15th. That level. Let me clean up my day trading lines here. That's 14,797. Let's call it, and it smacked it, which is also the daily Tinkinson, and it held. So going into this weekend, I think we're still bullish.
There's a lot of jukes. I do think I'd be really interested in buying a pullback into the 44-40 area because that's the 50%
Right.
coincides with the 50% and also the highs that we couldn't quite get over
Yeah.
back in the middle of
So
February.
you want
But I
some
think as
more?
long as we stay above that, they're good.
You want more, right?
More pullback?
More pullback? Yeah.
I mean, if they don't pull back, I won't be mad. But if they do, I would be ready to buy there. So I got some longer term puts on, and I got some shorter term calls I bought earlier today. And I don't know. The market looks pretty good. I mean, it didn't get slapped into the end of the week. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, overall, the stuff that's down is stuff that was just up a lot in the past rally. And then
Yeah.
the end of the week is kind of muted.
Yeah.
What
I
I
like the
started
VIX
the
close below 20 also.
was that?
I like the VIX close below 20. We haven't done that since the beginning of the year
Yeah,
on the weekly.
VIX back in the normal teens. Yeah, and of course, what I was looking at, with my opening was the Ethereum rally, and I made a video this week. I'm not sure how many people looked at it, but I kept getting messages from people asking, hey, should I buy this rally? And again, personal problem, but I get a little frustrated when people don't listen. I mean, you really had to wake up back around March the 15th because there was that really weird volatility spike. And that's what I'm going to start off this one, then we'll go back to the stocks. But um, basically on March the 15th, about 10 p.m. Eastern, there was a volatility spike in almost every cryptocurrency across almost every exchange. It was just weird, 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 weird. This is what price looked like here. And if you're looking at this doesn't immediately look like opportunity. I mean, you can't even say that this broke this high. You got highs back here. You got highs back here. I mean, you look at this and there's no way that you can say, I want to go bullish. But that set up a real breakout level. I mean, I don't know what caused this. I no none of the whales called me to tell me that this was going to happen, that they were going to pump it past here. But this was a breakout. Bitcoin was the one that I was mainly looking at was this right here, and this triggered on March the 18th. Gave a little bit of a pullback here. The better trade was, of course, Ethereum because there's a lot of the Ethereum 2.0 hype, I think, is the story behind what's going on right here. But, now, was it last night? I had people, two DMs from people asking me, hey, should I buy this rally? And I can't help you at this point because Ethereum is now getting up to the 50% of this whole down move at about 3,500. And so you're really kind of too late. It may not respect this, it may blow past it, who knows? But you've already exhausted a lot of this good reward in here, and now people are just FOMOing. And the message I'm trying to get people to think differently about trading because most people are jumping into it or thinking they need to get into it now. Especially, same thing goes with the stock market rally. I was watching Jim Cramer videos for some reference to try to work on my live streams, maybe more entertaining. And he's just following what the market's doing. Now he's talking about the rally being real. I mean, no one was really paying attention to the really key metrics of the market, which of course was the false breakout on 224, the VIX, which has been way more important thing to watch than CNBC. I mean, the highs on the VIX kept going down, telling you that this move, this down move, this correction in the market was not really actually going to be sustained. At least that's not what the market was pricing in. And so as the VIX falls off while the market rallies, it's no surprise to anybody really. At least I hope there's no surprise to people on my Discord where I try to point this out to folks because man, there's people love to they just really enjoy anxiety, and there's nothing that makes more anxiety than a stock market or crypto or whatever going down, and they just love to talk about it. And I think some people are still in denial about this rally, and they're not going to finally accept it until we're retesting all-time highs. And really and truly, we're not that far. Especially on the Nasdaq. No, that's the ES. Yeah, we're not far from the all-time highs. Nasdaq's a little bit lagging, but I mean, really, we don't have that much farther to go.
Yeah, I think that I think if you see the ES get back to that 40, a lot of I've seen on the internet's a lot of people with that 4440 number, 4450 number. So I think a nice fat spike of that would scare everybody, and then a recapture would get a lot of FOMO buying back on
Yeah.
board. People who felt they were late to the party would jump on there. I think that if they can spike that, maybe close a day just below it and then recapture it, I think that would be the ideal pullback to me, is if they spiked it and put one day below it and
Would
then
you
right back above.
would you say that you're starting to develop a sort of feel for playing the two indexes off each other because they're correlated, but they operate a little differently? Be-
I think that I think I do. I watch them both at the same time. I mean, intraday, as you and I have discussed it, there's usually a clear leader.
yeah.
Today was a little funky in the beginning, but it's also the end of the week, first day of the month. So a lot of weird divergences were happening during the day anyway. But yeah, I definitely got to watch them both. I mean, one is always near some key level. That's usually who's running the show from an intraday perspective, at least.
The reason I say that is because what I could see happening is pulling back to retest, like you said, the 4450, while the NQ does a pullback to the 50% here. And so those two
Maybe
could
I
very
could see him at
easily happen.
4,200,
Huh?
4,200 level. I could see
14,200. Okay. Well, if I was
somewhere
gonna if I
between
was
those
gonna
two
measure
lines is
that, that
probably
would
a
be
good
from
zone.
here to here. Yeah, yeah, just about there.
Yeah, something like that. There's some nice spike of that would be down at that level, 14,200 or so.
I can see that happening. I can see that happening. I wish that the VIX was just as. This is one thing that's been interesting. I've been watching the VIX to studying the VIX, going back in time, and what I found is that the VIX is pretty good about being able to pick market bottoms. But as far as like little intraday rallies, I have not come up with a method to really uh, gauge that. In other words, I don't know where the market's going to top based on where the VIX goes to. Maybe we'll find something to go on as this goes along, but yeah, it's a little bit better at picking out the bottoms and the tops.
I wish we'd
Uh,
make VIX great again because we were getting a lot of really nice intraday trades from the VIX being higher. Now it's a little slower now already.
well, that was I was explaining that to Les earlier in the week, and he pointed that out to me where these intraday moves that we were getting on, say, like just for instance, this move right down here was about 46 points. Okay, that was from 8 until that was a day move, 46 points. Okay, but if you go back in time to where VIX was much higher, yeah, around the March the 10th, and then if you just look at it this way, it doesn't seem that way, but like from this 8 to here, 8:30 to the day here, that's about a 78-point move, 75.1. So almost twice as much. And that makes sense because the VIX was almost twice as much. And so yeah, that all kind of correlates. And so you really yeah, as the VIX gets lower, the day trading opportunities just yeah,
I think the
they're
thing
just
people
less
don't
fun.
think about with the VIX is it is the fear indicator, but it's also how options price in the likelihood of like an expansive move in
Yes.
the ES. So it's pricing in the possibility of a 1% move, 2% move, etc. And the options reflect that. So it's not just a fear indicator; it's also a volatility indicator, as might be implied by the name, but people think of it more as a fear indicator than anything else, which it
Yeah.
really isn't.
Another thing to point out that I noticed today, there is a divergence between crypto and the stock market right now. Um, Today's intraday price action on the stock market was nothing at all. In fact, almost the opposite of what Bitcoin and Ethereum were doing. So finally, there's a really clear divergence in that correlation. I think it's funny because the markets just stopped caring about the things it was caring about for most of the year, 2022, hasn't it? Like it was caring about, you know, interest rates and making cryptocurrency move in lockstep with the stock market, and now nobody cares. It's all priced in. So I find that kind of interesting and good. That means that there's going to be some differences there. So
Yeah, I'm curious if we get a and this is there's no analysis behind this, so nobody trade off this. But if we get peace news, I wonder if we get a quick pullback to those levels. I wonder if it's a sell the news on peace.
oh,
That
so
would be
peace
that
is
would be so
bearish.
perfect.
I
It's
could
well,
I
it
can
is
totally see
bearish.
it. Now
It is bearish
you're thinking right. Yeah. Now
because
you're thinking correctly.
the more uncertainty and the more under pressure the market is, and the more under pressure, more likely we are to print money when in a wartime environment. That's that the market likes that,
Yeah.
right? If we come out of that, if we remove some uncertainty from the world, the market may decide that the Fed might be more aggressive with their rate hikes. You know, so you might see the price of oil stabilizing, which would be good for equities, but I don't know. I'm curious if that happens. I'll be looking for it if we get real peace news.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple comments to get to. So, Ravening asked about looking at the SPX. What we tend to do when we're talking about the S&P 500, SPX, of course, being the ETF for this S&P 500, when we're tracking the price action of the S&P 500, we like to use the futures because the futures are open 24/6. Yeah, 24 hours a day. Well, no, they're more like 22 hours a day. They're a little bit more real time than the ETF, which opens and closes, and then you don't have to worry about the after hours, which has low volume. So if you're looking at SPX or SPY, I tend to look at ES, and on TradingView that's ES1 exclamation point, which is the uh, closest contract. I believe it's the closest contract. And for QQQ or Nasdaq 100, which is the Bang uh, has asked for, I use NQ, the Nasdaq futures. And if you look at the price chart on the daily for QQQ and Nasdaq futures, it's the same. It's just the reason I use NQ is because I'm going to be day trading the futures. And so my lines and my analysis are going to be done there, and I don't have to replicate it multiple times. I don't tend to actually trade the Qs unless I'm taking like an option. But spot prices, I tend to use the futures. So, yeah, what we've been talking about is just the stock market price action, and it's interesting. I guess I find myself a little bullish in the fact that I'm seeing that this is a confirmation of some bullishness by holding this level. Whereas, yeah, we could possibly get a pullback. It would just be in character of the last couple of months that this is not the level we stop at, and then we get some more junk in here. I think you think it may be wishful thinking that we get some more volatility and get some more day trading action if we go down, because that will make volatility go back up.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah,
I mean, we got some good action today. They were stop hunting like crazy today, though. Today was there was a tough day to trade
I
intraday.
didn't. I did not fare well trying to grab off this level on the lower time frames. It worked, on the daily, but I was not able to get a good entry there. So, oh well.
Yeah,
Hard to take
I
some into
took
the
one
weekend
up, and
anyway.
you had to be willing to swing for a double and not a home run
Yeah.
today, for sure.
Let me
And at
switch
the end of
back
the day,
gears.
they
Crypto. Yes, I am offering premium trading services. Exactly. No, all the same features are for free. So, with Bitcoin, it could very possibly be over the weekend here or maybe into next week. We start to get up around the 51K. That's what I'm targeting on this breakout that began on March the 15th. That's the ultimate target where I'm going to start to get a little defensive. Matches up with some inflection here. Crystal ball, crystal ball speaking here. I really still think that this is a head and shoulders pattern in the forming. And when we get up to here on this rally, this is going to get really, really important what we do up in here, because it could very well be that we come up to here, hold it, maybe play a little bit more, and then that actually is what a lot of people fear. I hate it, but I really think that there's a lot of people way too heavily long. As I was talking to somebody this week, it's not that people necessarily want crypto to go up at this point, it's that they need crypto to go up at this point. That seems to be the sentiment that I get from a lot of people that, they're getting everything's fine. Basically, last summer we had a 50% pullback to that all-time high, and then recently we had a failed breakout, but it also held its 50% level, and so it's making higher lows. Anything can happen, but I think now people are starting to get like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay." And I think there's gonna be a lot more FOMO as it continues on. But really what's gonna happen, I think, is we gotta break this high. If we have a good solid weekly close above 69, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna say, "Hey, look, all right, go nuts." It's going to 800K, whatever the Twitterverse tells you. But I'm honestly not that interested until we get something that much confirmation. I'm totally comfortable trading short term up into here because I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I'm doubtful. But once we get that confirmation, then you can have your parabolic or whatever. But just way too many people in this last cycle are too long and really, really heavily psychologically invested in it going up. I still, I still want Bitcoin cheaper. I want to see the full completion there. So that's what I'm still looking at. Ethereum, likewise, again, it held at 50%, held at 50%, and now it's really close to the 3,500, and I'm really going to be watching this closely this weekend. It's probably going to hit it, the next couple hours, and then you got to see what happens. It's coming back to retest that uh, December jobs report liquidation low. We've come all the way back to this major, major low that everyone's forgot about that was on December the 4th on that interest rate fear. It's very interesting. That's just another level that we're once again coming back to test. I mean, these levels are very, very useful because I mean that's where it's hesitating right now. You know, this is when price gets to a level like this, where it's the key liquidation point of many months ago, you dig down into the lower time frames and you can find, this is not my strategy, but if you're trying to range trade, try to, trade the range. You know, that's that liquidation row. Three times on the 30 minute in the last couple of days, it's hit it as resistances. If your style is to play RSI over extensions, look for it to happen at these key levels. And I've talked to some people this week about putting together some overbought, oversold conditions, combine those with major inflection levels, and it can actually work really well for you. That's what I said. Not my style. My style is look 50% and spikes, price volatility spikes. Those are the two things that I use. And here's an interesting one. I've got a good friend of mine who is very, very big on Solana, and he jumped into this one with an average price of 100. He told me, so good for him. But really and truly, when I look at what I told him, and it remains true, when he jumped in, he was, of course, want my advice, and I don't tell people what to do because then they're going to blame me if it doesn't work. But no, they don't pay me if it does work. Strangely enough, I usually only get like angry. Now, people are usually not mad, but I told him basically, look, if you jump in, your stop needs to be 72. It needs to be basically this little volatility spike down here, which is also the bottom of this range on Solana. And it just clearly, clearly defines wherever you get in on this trend that your stop, where you need to get out, is there. Because it's very clearly giving you some structure here. Low, low, low. And so if it breaks that, now you're in that whole no man's land, that valley of risk that you just don't want to be in. I refer back to a couple of recent examples in like Zillow, where Zillow did something very, very similar last year, last summer. This was one that I was actually in, where it did the same kind of thing, where you formed some lows and some structures, but then it finally broke below those. And at that point, I'm out. Now, would I have liked to avoid a loss? Yes. But you just don't want to be in that situation where you're in that valley of risk where no decision you make is going to be correct and it's just grinding against you. So everything's going well for my friend's Solana trade because this didn't actually occur. But that is why it would have been. I was really careful that he has sized his risk appropriately so that he was fully willing to cut it if it got down to 72. So right now, with that, his trade is sitting up at a about a 1.5 to 1. Not something that I would necessarily like, but this is another validation of the spikes that I like to play. Whereas if you would just taken this in isolation, if you're really bullish on it, you take this little pullback right here, put your stop there, same way, and then there's your 3 to 1, possibly even more, that it could have gotten up to right there. And this happens a lot. And this is one of the things that I know the people in my Discord watch for. Hey, I've got a good little group going on. My close friends on there. Here's a plug. I don't actually have any paid services. I have a Discord of a community where I like to crowdsource ideas. It's a little selfish. I want to find these ideas, but also everyone's sharing their ideas too. Palantir is absolutely 100% a meme and also a crowdsourced idea because thanks to Bad MF slash AKA Paper Trade Frank, he had me add this to my spike alerts, which go through the Discord. It's a signal, just like people pay for, but it tells me when we have these kind of price spikes. And Palantir had one of those on March the 15th. Now, I don't care about Palantir. I don't know exactly what they do. I still don't. but a lot of my friends, they love Palantir. And so when this happened, I went long just to be part of the cool kids. And what do you know? It has been a very good trade so far, and I am still very long. And hopefully, this gets to be something I get to talk about for months and months. And what I find very interesting is when I posted this trade in some other discords that I contribute to, in their Palantir channels, because yes, they created them last year. You know, these channels were very, 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 very active up until the last few months, and they were dead silent. And I'm in there talking to myself. I love it. You know, my ego would, of course, like for people to be responding and telling me that I'm wrong or anything at all. But most people, they just stop talking about something. And I'm actually going to make a video on this. This is a little interesting feature of Trading View. If you go over on the right hand side on Trading View to the ideas stream, and we're on the daily of Palantir here. If you go up to this little bar right here and you say show all ideas, it's going to show you everyone's ideas on this symbol and on this time frame, bullish or bearish. And of course, you can see that with a green or a yellow or a red. And what's very, very interesting if we watch here and we see that, man, people loved Palantir. You get some bearish Palantir ideas, but very, very, very bullish. Very bullish. And then you start to get less and less bulls. Oh, less and less green. Oh, less and less green. Oh, no ideas here. Nobody's talking about it at all. Nobody's talking. Oh, wait, there's a few. Wait. Oh, there's mine. And yeah, now some people are starting to talk to it. But like it's funny to me. It's not funny. It makes total sense in market psychology that here you have in this whole area right here, one, two, three, four, five bullish ideas, whereas that was the average number that you would see in any given day in 2021. This is just the enigma of the markets. And when no one's talking about something, that tends to be the bottom. And that's because it's the price is the reflection of market sentiment. It's what people are thinking, and that's what they're valuing it at, what they're willing to pay for it. And the same is true of when things get up to a high. People are extremely bullish. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Everyone agrees it's the future. Everyone agrees that Bitcoin is going to be the future of money at 69K. And that just happens to be the top. So yeah, that's been a cool development going into it. Let me actually sorry, Zygor. I saw your question. I got on a tangent. Let's talk about cat. By the way, if you have questions or symbols to look at, post them in the chat. I'll look at them. I'll give you my opinion. You may not like it, but it'll be honest, and I may not be right. I hope that it. I hope that if I'm against you, I'm wrong, so that you make money. As long as I'm not in it, then you don't want to bet against me. Caterpillar. Let me take off these ideas. Actually, I might leave them on. So, from a fundamental standpoint, Zagor, um, yeah, I just don't know. This is not my specialty on Caterpillar. If I'm looking
I
at
don't.
this from a time perspective, or excuse me, a price action perspective, of course, I've been watching for the COVID low to the all time high. Oh man, that's 167 would have been a really, really awesome pullback level if it had gotten there. But that it did not get there, it means either one or two things. One, it's bullish, and it just was so bullish it didn't even want to do a full pullback. Or two, it could still get back down there. I would say, I'd be guessing at this point. I would say it's just still pretty bullish. But this price action here with the lower lows, lower highs, I'm confused. I would, if I was looking at this, I would wait still. If it gets down to here, I'll look at it. But as it stands right now, you could come up to the high and stall out, or it could come back down to here. It could just range for all I know. And so,
Yeah, I wouldn't take a new position on this where it is right now,
yeah.
and I'm a little more aggressive than you. I mean, it could be in the process of reversing on the weekly chart to come down to like in the 200s somewhere, low 200s.
Yeah, I hate it for some, but I've been saying this the last these last 2 weeks. The best trades of the year may have been in the beginning of March when everyone was worried that we were going into World War III. Now, I don't think that's entirely true. I still am operating under the thesis that this year in the S&P is okay. Let me take those ideas off. I'm still operating under my crystal ball thesis that this year, which is right about here, 2022 is looking a lot to me like 2018. The reason is simple. 2017 was up and to the right. It followed a president being elected with a unified Congress. That was Trump with the Republicans. Does it mean anything to me fundamentally? No, but statistically, it did. And you saw that in 2021, up and to the right. You had a blow off top in January. Not exactly the same kind of blow off top that we had in 2018, but you had a big dip in the first quarter, big dip in the first quarter. And really, what if this plays out the same way as 2018, I do expect us to make a new all time high, but following it up and to the right that got everyone super bullish, and then this little bit of jolt to, oh, wait, the stock market doesn't always just go up. It kind of removes a lot of this happy go lucky momentum and set the stage for this quarter four 2018 really big correction. And the same narratives were in play. This was all caused by taper tantrum, basically concerns that the Fed was going to raise interest rates too much. The only thing that saved it was the Fed coming in and saying right on the day after Christmas, December 26th, oh, wait, no, we screwed up. We're not going to raise rates so fast. And then the market rallied, got happy with that. That was what happened back then. Interestingly enough, one of these hindsight curve fittings, look at that, where that thing held. Ping, right there. 50% of that rally. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Of course, that also implies something else. Kova low to all time high. SPY 3,500. Go go. For real though, if I'm being honest, you don't know where the top of the market's going to be, but that would be where it would go. Really and truly, if this had continued, and it very well may, anything can happen. You can bet that if we had broke and if we break the February 24th low, I'm just going to say it. If we break the February 24th low, I'm not going to panic. I'm going to get short because I know that I'll have this much area to really comfortably play on the short side down into. Now that didn't happen yet, but I've already got that plan in my head because that would be what I would look for. And that makes a lot of sense that that would be the level that SPY would come back to. But I'm still, again, operating under the thesis that that was a correction, which was 14%, right in the average of what most corrections are. And that's going to be what it was. We'll see. Every day is a new day and very interesting. Okay. All right. Yes, I'll take a look at GME. Do I need to play the song too? There once was a stock called G. Oh, I gotta refresh on that. what is it? Once was a stock that put to sea. The name of the stock was a GMB. The price, something. I can't remember lyrics. We'll play it sometime in the Discord. Jen, you there? Can you post that for him if he's still watching? Um, why do you make me do this? Why do you do this? Okay, meme stocks. I'm frustrated because they announced a split, and I have become sort of a student of splits. My highest conviction trades of this year are Google and Amazon because of their upcoming splits. And I've studied the splits of Tesla, Apple, and Nvidia to really inform how I'm playing these out. Now we have another stock that is splitting that is sort of a tech stock, and I'm forced to look at it because it could very well give some alpha and some gains. Well, let's evaluate. I made a video for Best of Us Investors. I've got it linked on YouTube and everything like that in a post and also in the Discord where I talk about my high conviction trades and why I'm playing them as a splits. And there's a couple of interesting things. So actually, I'm glad. Thank you, Nedgev, for having me look at this. One thing that was interesting about the Apple, let's just look at this. Let's do a little recap. So when Apple, I'm going to clean this up. We don't need these. Did their split announcement, it was here. Yes. And on the announcement of the split, that thing jumped up overnight 7%. It opened 7% higher and then it just rallied. Tesla, when it announced its split, it was in August. I happened to be in it. Very luckily, it almost stopped me out. It rallied again almost 7% and then went on a tear after that. GME, which announced its split last night, it opened from the close to the open 13%, but it had no follow through. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that break the high.
If you zoom out a little bit, Norak, and draw your 50% from the high on 1113 to the low,
The
you see a very
high,
interesting action. No, 11,
basically
12,
where
11,
this
13.
down thing happened. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, go back more.
Oh,
Even
this
more,
one.
1113. Yep. And then look at the daily closes there.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. No, that's not a buy. Nope. 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 Okay. Good.
But
I don't have to
UFSC,
worry about it.
it can reverse 10% in a day, but it's you're rolling the dice on that one, I think.
Just to be concise for those that ask where I draw the 50%, I'm going to pick the low, low, and then I'm going to go for this one right here because that's really the top of this meat of the trend. And so now, if I'm trying to be very precise, 164.89. The close is drum roll 165. And actually, technically, I gotta admit, it did hold that level.
Is it up
So we'll
below
see.
shares right now?
Huh?
It's actually quite a bit after hours.
It's up after hours?
It's down quite a bit after hours, but it's just below it.
Well, we'll see what happens Monday. I think that if you 165, okay, is going to be the level for GME right here, and I think where it plays around here, I would say if you really want to play GME, I know you're gonna have to be patient, but you really need to break above this high. I mean, I don't know if people knew things. They tend to know things. I found it interesting here. Earnings really kicked off this. I didn't read their earnings. I don't know why. But going into
Laid out
this,
some
you had this huge
earnings.
rally. Do you know what the story is on that?
It was like a it was like a dividend. Talk about a dividend and some other
Oh
bullshit.
yeah. Well, that's what they're doing, right?
Um,
The split's going to be a
yeah,
dividend, kind of like Tesla's doing, right?
And if you take a look at the shorter time frames, the shorter time frames under the daily closed at 83. So it actually closed beneath it on the short time frames. Take a look at that last candle.
Yeah, this one right here.
Yep. So it actually didn't quite capture it.
You can see the level even on this price
Yeah,
action where it comes
it's
here, ba 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 ba. I mean, this is why 50% work. This is why I believe in them because you can see and use these levels from months of time, and you can see where price likes to play around there. So yeah, 165 is going to be the level to watch here. Um,
if I was going to trade this, I would be taking some kind of play against the low from this week. If I had to be long on it, that's how I would probably do it.
like this.
Yeah.
So you try to
If
get,
I had to be long here, that's how I would do it.
yeah.
You probably get a decent 3-1 on that if you drew it
I
out
would,
from
if
your
I was
customer.
going to like at the on Monday, if this opened exactly where it was, I would give myself a very tight stop like this.
I wouldn't even give it that much. Just me, but I don't like.
Yeah, maybe just below that low.
Yeah, maybe like if
I'm
it was
sighing
closing
because I
like an
really want
hour
to get a
later.
3-1 up to that high, but you're probably only get a 2-1. I mean, you're playing for the break, so it should
Yeah,
be okay. But yeah, if it
it's not
starts,
the worst GME setup I ever seen.
do
Honestly,
what?
not the worst setup for this stock I've ever seen.
Well, you know where you're wrong. I mean, if it starts giving up the earnings right. Another thing, honestly, you could take your stop to there, but
Let's see.
perhaps
Oh dear.
a pullback to the earnings, which is going to be a big theme, I do believe, of this year. Not just GMEs. GME is just going to be an example here, but looking for these earnings rallies and the 50% pullback. That would be something I'd more like to see. Can you think of one that's had pretty good, like a good earnings rally that may have pulled back, had enough time off the top of
May
your
have
head?
pulled back from earnings.
While you think of that, let's look at your TLT trade. I wanted to kind of touch on this. This was a good one. I like this. I got into this a little bit later in the morning, but it should be up based on this. I sized it appropriately so that I'll get out if it breaks the low on TLT. But just as a real quick refresh, this was TLT is the Treasury Bonds ETF. So this is a bonds play. And we've had this big move down with the market, which incidentally, again, I don't name my friends, but I like to keep apprised of their strategies. I have a friend of mine that has a bond stock balancing portfolio, and it operates under the premise that stocks and bonds operate inversely. Well, clearly he's getting hurt on both sides, unfortunately. But hopefully he's staying diligent because his strategy requires him to, you know, dollar cost average in on a very regular basis to keep them at 50%. So hopefully this is going to be the reversal for his bonds. But TLT, what I like about this setup is you have this low that it's set at 127. You don't know that's going to be the low until price gives a little bit of a up movement, gives a little bit of buying to give you some confidence that hey, this might be a potential low that is setting up. And then you notice I've got a 50% level set up right here. Let's just go back and pretend like we didn't see today. So you see this movement right here. And what really kind of defines it for me is when you get the close above the red. The red line I have is just simply the Ichimoku Tenkan-sen. It's a 9-period median. It is a short-term 50% level. And so that's kind of like the trigger that I'm going to look for to say, okay, this trend may be coming to an end or weakening. Because if you notice, as this thing is trending down, it never violates by closing above that red line until here. So that's basically just my trigger to start looking at it. And so now we have some upward movement here, and I'm going to draw that out, and we're going to see, okay, there is a 50% retracement. This D down here on TradingView is TLT issuing dividends. Oftentimes, dividends can be a catalyst for movement because people are either going to do one or two things together. They're either going to take the dividends as cash or they're going to reinvest the dividends into the instrument. And so trading, a lot of interesting trading happens around dividends, and so that can create a little bit of a catalyst. And so I believe you saw this when it opened down here. Did you have an alert, or how did you see this?
I've actually been long on TLT since like 128.30 because it poked the low and then closed back above it. That's where I went long, but I re-added to it
Oh,
when it
128, like
no
January?
no 128.20 like the price like from it there, yeah.
Okay.
So I was already watching it because I was in it, and when it retraced it, I added to my position.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. So pulls back to that level, and you notice how I've also now got the 50% of this rally. So here's what this lets me do. If we go long here, which I'm not saying I got in here because I got in probably around halfway. That's fine. If we go in here, we know that our first target is going to be that 50% level. We can also see how, well, that's going to be some place that price tends to respect. So there's our target. We need to know that we can get, or at least in my preference, I get a 3-to-1 risk reward ratio from that. And what's good about that is that lets me stay in this trade even if price comes down and kind of does a little double bottom, does a head and shoulders, does some kind of games right in here. As long as it doesn't break that low, eh, then I'm good, because that would mean I'm probably wrong and this is thing's going to continue if this is not the low. So the play is, this is the low, this is the reaction, this is the pullback I want to get in, and I want to see it come back up to here. I took shares, so I'm not really concerned about the time of it. But that is how I structure up a reversal trade. And it's all based on 50%. And that's what I use. I know my good buddy Hex was asking me to do a little tutorial. So this is for you, buddy. Hope you're listening. So just this is how I see things. Everyone has their own way. Everyone has to come up with their own methodology. This is mine. And I like to share it because hopefully people can get something they can use from it. Let's
Yeah, you
go
get some
back.
interesting stuff going on this. If you look at the daily, you see a gap filled and it closed just below it, which is
Where?
not, it's kind of neutral right there on today's bar. Yeah, see
Yeah.
it touched it and closed
It's got a
below it.
lot of
But then
gaps.
yeah, if you look at the weekly though, if you flip to the weekly real quick, pretty nice reversal candle on the
Yeah.
weekly. So we'll see. VIX-15 does not like the TLT because of the 10 years. So I think this is going to either work really soon, like we'll get some pullback in the 10 year for a little bit, or it'll
Yeah.
it'll
Looks
work
a lot
it'll work quick or it won't work.
it looks a lot like the T-bond futures. What other bond instruments do you look at other than like ZB?
UB,
Huh, I what?
UB1 exclamation futures. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
pretty
looks
much
all
the
the
same.
same. Let's see. If we look on the weekly, I don't see much structure. Actually, real quick,
You
because
gotta
it's
go
sort of
weekly and zoom out a little further. Yeah,
it doesn't really match up with the dollar that much. Dollar's still going up since I've got it
if
up
you
here.
go uh, if you go TLT and zoom out to the weekly like 3 years, you'll see there's like a little bit going on here. See that top right there in 2018?
Right
Yeah,
here,
see?
yeah,
Yeah, yep.
yeah, I can see
That's
that
where it's at.
because
That's
what
where it's
that
at.
ends up being is
It's a
a
breakout area.
it's a
It's a
breakout.
breakout
Yeah,
area. Yeah, so it's the breakout area from 3 years ago. That's what the play is off that
okay,
level.
I like it. I'm in it. I like it. That could work out pretty well the next couple of weeks. Could take
Yeah.
until May.
See,
Yeah. So if you were taking options with this, I think someone asked me today.
I got options in for June expiries and also leaps on this TLT,
Those are
and
good
that
choices.
are
June's
already in the
June's
money.
would be my choice if I'm looking for the because I explained this to somebody today who was, I think they were looking at a short term Tesla play, and of course if you're taking a short term Tesla play, most people are going to take it as close to expiration as they freaking can. Buy those lottery tickets, and so he was asking, well, what's the farthest thing you go? Well, let me bring that up actually. So this was Tesla, and actually let me leave that on. What Tesla did today was, again, it set up a volatility spike a lot like Bitcoin did recently. Let me clean that up. Okay, so basically, Tesla has established this little consolidation right here. Okay, you got this gap up, made a high up here, and then it said, "Hey, whoop," and then it's going could go like this. If it breaks this low and then breaks the gap, it could potentially fill the gap, which gets it down in this territory. I want a little more. It could possibly pull back from this rally 50%. And so I was looking at this. I did not take this yet because it has not triggered that potential breakout. It would need to get down here. I got an alert set there. But if it did, they were asking, okay, what duration of options should I take? And I said to them, well, you got to take something reasonable. So this move right here from March the 14th up to here, it took 14, almost 15 days. Okay. So a move down could take half that long. So at least 7 days, but really give yourself a buffer, especially when you're doing options. Probably want to take 8 to 15 day expiration. And so that would let you possibly catch this move, stay in it, give yourself a few extra days of time, and be able to play it that way. And so we'll look for that. If the market starts to pull back next week, as I think we've talked about, something like this could trigger. Amazon also had something similar. It did the exact same kind of pattern with a potential breakdown. But as you guys may know, I'm long Amazon. I really hope this doesn't happen. Even if it does, I'm long from here, so I'm in good shape. I can handle a pullback. Again, still high conviction. In fact, pulling back to 3,000, that's a good level, honestly. I could see a pullback next week being a pretty healthy and nice for maybe one more opportunity of some stuff I want. But going back to TLT, using that same logic as I sort of mapped it out, this duration, the length of this trend was 112 days. So let's give ourselves about at least 60 days. Well, from the point here, 60 days. So that takes us into May. And I like it because Manaconda, he gave himself an extra month out to June. And so that gives you time for this potential trade to play out in options. And so when you're trying to figure out what is the duration, look at the trend that you're trying to play and then take something reasonable and then give yourself like an extra month or an extra several days because you definitely don't want that thing to expire before it gets to your target.
Yeah,
And
be
other
aware
than
of like
that,
the kind of instrument you're trading too. Like
do what?
like test the kind of instrument you're trading, like the TLT. I bought I bought stuff that's real close to in the money because TLT doesn't move a lot. Whereas with the Tesla, you're probably buying stuff that's a little more OTM
Yeah, with
because
Tesla, you're
it
pretty
can
much
just
just
take a
playing the
while.
delta and kind of
Yeah,
praying. It's an art. Options trading is a lot of art because it's got so many moving parts. But that's sort of the way that you can try to make some sense of the time. I know I say use a reasonable time, but that helps to hopefully quantify like the duration that you'd be looking for. But yeah, just get in the habit of taking longer term options if you can, and if you can't afford to take a longer term option, then it's really probably not an instrument that you should be trading. Sorry.
I think for a trade like this, I went out a little further because I didn't want to eat theta, and I went close to in the money because I wanted magnitudes of price movement for small increments because I do expect this to play out in the next month. So I theta theta decay could really crush me. So I needed to move it decent, not all that much in a short period of time to make it worthwhile. So that's why I went with that for this in particular.
Yep. Did you happen to look at the IV if it was where it was on it?
It's super low on TLT
Okay.
at all for all things. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it's actually getting into a very interesting time to buy options because the VIX is getting lower. Now, the CLT is going to have its own sort of implied volatility, but
16% it was when I bought it.
okay. Yeah. So I don't have the thinkorswim up so I can bring up IV. But yeah,
It's
we'll take a look at that
18%
next
now
week. Yeah.
after today's move. Today's move was pretty big spike and bounce for freaking bonds.
Hmm.
Bonds are moving like a crazy, but anyway, we don't want to waste time on that. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm. Let me go through my notes and see if I've touched on the major stuff I want to talk about. Um, I talked about the Amazon Tesla breakdowns, Bitcoin breakdown, Palantir. Yeah. Palantir. I already did the correction there. This was I thought somebody told me this thing was a SPAC. I got told wrong, and that actually reinforces to me why the 10 level is just a psychological level instead of the SPAC level. Somebody misinformed me on that, but I corrected that. Okay, I've touched on all my topics. I know what videos I'm going to make this week. You got any more comments, Maniconda?
Not really, other than to say it was a very deliberate close today for everything. VIX just under 20, the ES just above that level. Thank you above that 50%. But I'm expecting some more sideways action. And I'm looking for, and at least on the futures, looking for short setups until we get back over 4,600 or until we get down to like 44.40, 44.50, that area we talked about, and then bounce. So I think they got to work off a little more steam. But if they don't, I won't be mad about it.
Yep. Anybody in the chat? Now's your time. Want to look at another symbol? Post it. Discord just chatting, or the YouTubes, or the trading views. I'm going to start wrapping up here if I don't get anything else, and bid everyone to have a good weekend. Okay. Thanks for me. What about your next Friday, Manaconda? Like,
Oh,
I've been floating the idea of moving to 2 p.m.
yeah, it's just a toss up for me because with work, sometimes I'm around, sometimes I'm not. I just don't know. I don't have anything on the calendar now, but that might change. So I wouldn't hold up for me. If I can join, I will, for sure.
Okay. I might try next week 2 p.m. So for those that are
Yeah,
regular watchers, hopefully that's not a problem. But there's a few things that I want to do. I want to try to see if first of all, I want to try and get some more engagement. Second of all, I've got another group that I want to join them at 4 p.m., but I'm going to put mine ahead of that. But we'll give it a try next week, and we'll see who shows up. So, all right. See you guys next week, 2 p.m.
see y'all.
Bye bye.